Hello, Awifians. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning to you all, wherever you may be in the world. I hope you're well. Please come join me. I might be alone today, but I'm going to do my talking. So come join me, share this live stream out. Let's have a minute or two of conversation, depending if our guest makes it or not. If this is the very first time you're watching me live, my name is Lillian Mole. I am the founder and CEO of the African Women's Economic and Entrepreneurship Forum, the place where we challenge the status quo for economic advancement of African women, irrespective of where you are. Thank you so much for joining me already. Please share this live stream out with your family and friends. Share it. Have a word. Give your feedback. We are having some problems. We are not able to connect with Charles, but I couldn't fail you. I haven't been on the platform this week, so I couldn't fail you. Here I am, standing up for you, talking on the topic, doing my thing, walking my talk, putting myself up, irrespective of this situation. So please take a minute to sit down, grab a coffee, wine, water, tea, whatever may be appropriate for you. Share out this live stream. It's a pleasure to always come here to chat with you, to see what progress we're making. So give me a few minutes, share it out, and I will be with you in a few seconds. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here again today, but unfortunately, I'm alone because Charles is not available. The last time we spoke was yesterday evening when I was putting together the questions. And as you know, in Europe, it's a public holiday. So he's not here. I don't know if it's technical issues. I don't know if he just didn't get our message, but I don't know. But I'll walk my talk. So I hope you accompany me. I hope you're not disappointed. I hope you're proud of me that despite the fact that things happen, technical issues happen, I don't give up. I still come up here to talk about what we were meant to be talking about. How has your week been? It has been hectic over here. We had webinars. We did not have a good turn up. So on certain days, it was canceled. So I hope some of you got the email from the administration saying because of the low turnout, that webinar was canceled on that particular day. For those of you who attended the other days, that's perfectly good. And yeah, it wasn't fun not to see many of you up there. But those who showed up, showed up. Those who couldn't. And today's another no show up day. But the message behind here is whatever happens, I want you to show up, irrespective of the situation. Now, if you don't feel like it, don't force yourself, because I will be faking it. However, people are looking up to you. A continent is looking up to you. How dare you not show up? So no matter what the situation is today, I could not come up with such an amazing topic. I have been looking forward to this topic, to have this discussion, and I'm glad other people are talking about this because we should face the truth. We should be questioning ourselves. Enough is enough of blaming. The time is right for us to question ourselves. So we were going to be talking about the impact of COVID-19 on a continent which is vast, with vast resources and empty head. When I read Charles' article, I was like, wow, this makes sense. Someone is thinking like me. This is an amazing topic. And with all due respect, Don't take this topic personal when you see the word empty head. On the contrary, tell yourself, one of us is thinking of something bigger. One of us from that continent is thinking of the possibility or sees opportunities. This is a very young man from Ghana, and I think he's brilliant. He's amazing. And these are the people that will shape the continent in the coming future. So if you have ideas like this, I could not resist. I could not resist but contact him to say, come up, let's talk about it. By the way, he is the founder and president of African Entrepreneur Conference in Ghana. So Google his name and look out for him. He's going to do an amazing job. Really amazing. I mean, we're going to have another live stream when things will be comfortable, when things will all be on the same track and have things lined up properly. This was such in a rush that I understand. But the beauty of it all is that people are beginning to see the opportunities. Not only the diaspora are seeing those opportunities, but people back home. He is in Ghana and he sees the opportunities. He wrote this article in 2016, and now that has become so true. So how dare we not face the truth? How dare we keep on blaming without questioning ourselves? So what is the impact of COVID-19 on a continent with such vast natural resources, yet with empty heads? After speaking to many people, I can say we're close to a success. The figures in Africa are really, really comforting. However, that's the medical side of things. What about the economic side of things? What about the social side of things? What about the political side of things? This is when the news are not so comforting anymore. So today we were going to talk with Charles. Before we dive into the discussion, let's talk about the quote of the day. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Very often when we think of Africa, we think we are a failure. We think we have these natural resources, we've not done enough with it, we've not produced enough, we've not managed it properly, and we are a failure. May this quote remind each one of us in that continent or out of that continent, but with love for that continent. May this quote remind us that failure is not fatal. And please don't fool yourself by saying we have not failed. Africa has failed big time, but many of us recognize it. We recognize our failures, where we went short, where we gave away our powers, and now we are beginning to react. We are beginning to take back our power, bring back that confidence in that continent, and try to make things work. My big shout out to Rwanda. Look at Rwanda today. Who would have believed? Now, we could say things about Rwanda, but show me one country on this planet that is thriving, that has not been through huge war before they became better. So it may be something that's really icky to you, yes, but if you take other countries, other prosperous countries, they went through the same process. So let's be gentle with ourselves. Let's be gentle with this continent of vast resources and count our blessings that we have something to bounce back to. We have all these resources. Our heads may be empty because of ignorance, because of lack of manpower, not really manpower, but the technology behind it to make us as prosperous as other countries. Yet, We have the resources, we have the manpower, we have the knowledge. All we need is just to tweak it. All we need is a change in mindset. By the way, may I remind you that no continent has it all. No continent has it all. They may be thriving in so many areas, but they're also lacking in so many areas. So there must be a balance. There must be a balance. So let's not just sit there saying, we have it all, we know it all, we are this, we are that, we are this, we can survive without China, we can survive without Europe, we can survive without America. It's not going to work. We can't. We just can't. It's not going to happen. That's a lie, big fat lie to all of us. There's need to collaborate. There's need to cooperate. There's need to evolve. So the first question I was going to ask Charles, that you wrote a beautiful article in 2016 on a continent with vast resource and empty head. What led you to that? That I cannot answer the question for him, but I hope that he will be able to answer whenever it's appropriate for him to come up live here. But I can only imagine that as a young man growing in Africa, in Ghana, looking at the things, I have been to Ghana. It's a rich and beautiful country. So he sees the opportunity. I agree with him. He sees the opportunity, but then the mind doesn't follow the resources that are given to us. We are only basing ourselves. We are only looking after the short wins. So he will have to speak for himself when he comes here next. Next question. In the context of an always changing economic world, your illusion of empty heads in Africa makes sense. What can the continent start doing today to improve its status quo? That was the second question I was going to ask him. It does make sense. It does make sense. In the context of today, of a world that's always evolving, Africa is still stagnating. We keep doing the same thing over and over. If you go back to your village, you'll see the same thing. It's still the same thing over and over and over. And yeah, I agree that culture is a good thing. It's good to maintain tradition and everything. Why do you have a phone in your hand? Go start walk. Keep walking naked if you want to maintain all those things. Don't go dress up with expensive shoes, with a phone in your hand, because to me, that's evolution. That's progress, right? So if you really want to maintain, then please drop all the stuff, go naked, just like in those days. But since everything is evolving and we are all making progress towards a much more harmonized world, I think in this context, it makes sense. And Africa can start improving its status quo today by acknowledging the fact that there are certain things that has to be dropped. Certain ideas don't make sense anymore in this modern world. There must be a balance between genders. There must be a balance between culture and modern world. There must be a balance between what we want to see that continent to be. If you want it to be traditional, cultural, with all its value, fine. That is fine. But then we're then confused. You can have it all. At one point, you have to give away something to gain something. So let's rethink what we really hope for that continent. Let's really think how we want to change. Do we really want to change? I mean, change is not necessary in every situation. But in this case, I personally believe there must be change. If we want to improve the status quo, if we want to improve the quality of life, the hygiene, the medical situation of that continent, the betterness of that continent, there must be a change. And this change must go through cultural changes. It must go through political instability. There is no way out. There is no way out. It's not enough to say we call back, those who are abroad to come change the country. They have a different mindset. They have that different mindset. Are you willing to make space for them so that they can incorporate what they've learned and how they live in the culture that you have today? Are you ready? So we have to look into all of this. It's more complex than we think. It's more complex than we think we can manage. But there is a need for change for the betterness of that continent. It's a shame that we have all of the natural resources that we do have, yet we're still lacking behind, because we shouldn't be. Now we could blame it on others, we could blame it on other factors, which I agree with you. However, what is your contribution to that? That's where it should start. These conversations should start within. Before we exteriorize it, let's start the conversation within. What is my personal contribution to the failure? Next question. Natural resources cannot save any continent. The skill sets and artificial intelligence is equally important. In your opinion, how does Africa intend to carry forward this after this pandemic? Again, my guest is not here. I said this question because I see the possibility. Natural resources, when I see on Facebook or social media, Africa can survive on its own, Africa can do this, we have this, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. And I will remind people, you cannot live on bananas alone. It's not going to work. You cannot live on maize alone. It's not going to work. Of course, you have natural resources. Of course, you have all this organic product. It's not enough. Because sooner or later, diabetes, high blood pressure, all these vascular diseases and what or not kicks in. Where is the service? Where is the medical infrastructure to take care of you? Where is it? Infrastructure in Africa is just very low or not even existing. So you cannot only say we have this, we can make it. No, you cannot live on bananas alone. So I think both world is important. So as we get into this new decade, as the pandemic gradually starts to slow down, that we Africans, irrespective of where you are, you will start to rethink about how we negotiate, be it in sales, be it in corporations, be it in the businesses we open up, be it in, I don't know what the future holds. But I think for Africa, it's time for us to rethink the way we negotiate our natural resources. Could that be against infrastructure, which is what China was really trying to do? And now it has turned into something else. What is it that Africa can, besides its natural resources, manual power, what can we start building in Africa? What product can we start making? As one of our live viewers said, made in Africa. Yes, made in Africa. Is there the quality behind it? Are we sustainable? Can we do things ourselves? Is it not time for us to start thinking of creating robots? I saw on TV, I think it's in Algeria, where now you have robots going around, talking to people to go stay home rather than having human beings go do the work. So it is happening, but at a very, very slow rate. It is happening. So natural resources is not enough. You need artificial intelligence as well. So how can we learn from others? And as we continue to sell our natural resources to the developed world, what are we negotiating? Is it just a president negotiating to visit the country, go to, buy houses or have a good life for his family, and that's it? Let's start thinking of how we want to do it. If we want to carry on from now on, we should know with pride that we have these natural resources, and those natural resources could be exchanged against other things that we do not possess. And when we bring those people into our continent, we should open our eyes. Not just sit there and eat and drink and go to bed while they work. Open your eyes as they build up for you. At the end of this pandemic, Africa will fail its population economically. So as the founder and president of Afripreneur Conference, what's your contribution? Okay, he's not here again, Charles. But to my mind, at the end of this pandemic, Africa will suffer economically, hugely, immensely. We see it already. People are not dying, yes. But economically, Africa has a completely different way of doing business. So how are we going to export our products now? To who, when, and how? And if there is no means, look at just the way, if there are no flights to export our products, how will Africa survive? It's going to be a disaster. Personally, I think it's going to be a disaster for Africa economically. And if we look at the figures, if you go back to all my other live streams, we've talked about countries that already are in debt, took credit to be prepared for the pandemic. So you are in one debt, you take another credit. How do you want to survive after that? So by default, we're starting in a very negative, we're standing in a very negative place here. There was no way out. Don't blame your government. There was no way out. Africa had to be ready for this. Look at the figures now in Brazil. They don't look good. But it's a pride to see that Africa has managed this pandemic very well, but economically, this is going to be a disaster. Can we come out of it? Yes. But it's going to take a long, long time. A long time. Are natural resources enough to come out of this? Yes. But don't forget that contracts have already been signed against those natural resources for years and years and years. My only hope is that there's one crazy president in Africa who will just stand up and say, we renegotiate. Any renegotiation is possible. It costs you something, but let's renegotiate. That's the hope for Africa. My other hope for Africa is that the youth come up with innovative ideas on how to better serve that continent. That is our hope. When we see less figures today, it's because Africa has a very young generation, which is such a relief. So let's use this to our advantage. Let's take this to another level and hope that the new generation will be able to collaborate with other continents so that we can better the situation of of Africa. But economically, it's going to be drastically difficult. But no one knows the future. No one can predict what's going to happen. Things could turn around, but things don't just turn around by miracle. Things are just, you don't turn things around just like that. My hope, I wish Charles was here. My hope is that the younger generation will take things to the next level. They will collaborate more, that there will be more trade in between African countries themselves to building confidence in the continent itself before you start exporting. Before you go out of Africa, what can we do within Africa? How can we retain as much as possible while we try to collaborate, while we try to construct, while we try to improve our infrastructure inwards rather than looking outwards? So that was it for me. I hope you found some value in this live stream. So sorry, Charles cannot be with us today, but we are going to repeat these questions. We're going to repeat this live stream again with him whenever it's possible. Now, we are moving towards the next webinar I announced in advance, and we're going to put things out there. Topic: pivot or quit. So watch out for this space. It's a free webinar. And we're going to be doing it maybe the first week of June. So register so we can come and discuss in private how you can pivot your business. Or maybe it's just the time to say, I quit. I go get a 9-to-5 until when I'm ready again. Or go get a 9-to-5 while I build my business. Watch out for that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the live viewers. We don't have any comment. If you would like to contact Charles, That's his email. That's his website. And for those of you in Ghana, there is a conference coming up. Check out his website. Do not miss that conference if you can. Believe me, it's going to be an amazing one. And if you would like to send a message, many of you are asking, where can we send a message? Where can we send a message? And we keep telling you, send it here on Facebook. It's easier and faster. Someone will reply. And no, where can we send a message? So here you are. That's the email address. It's a public holiday here. No one's going to answer you for the moment until Monday. And I will catch you in the next live stream next week. But please remember, we cannot survive alone on natural resources. It's not going to work because we've sold them already off for zillions of years. That even our children may not even benefit from it. So what's going to happen? Let's start renegotiating. That was my conversation for the day. I did not want to let you down, so I came here on my own, talking my talk, walking my talk. And I hope you found some value. Comment, share, like, subscribe to our channels, be it on Facebook or on YouTube. We count on you. I have tried Instagram. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't really work. So I'll be staying on Facebook and YouTube for the moment. So thank you so much. Watch out for the next webinar that's coming up first week of June. Pivot or quit. Is your business pivotable or not? Is it better to quit and gain more momentum to come back? Maybe. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.